Καλημέρα σας, κυρίες και κύριοι. Guten Tag und guten Morgen. Good morning. Σήμερα θα μιλήσουμε και τις τρεις γλώσσες. Δεν θα έχουμε διερμηνία, αλλά νομίζω ότι αυτό δεν θα είναι το πρόβλημα. I welcome you today to today's online session. As I said, the second and the last day of the fourth Innovation Forum. Αν θέλετε να κάνω, για όσους δεν συμμετείχαν χθες, το θέμα μας είναι η καινοτομία πυλώνας της τεχνολογικής μετάβασης, βέλτιστες πρακτικές από την Ελλάδα και την Γερμανία, από τη Γερμανία και την Ελλάδα, πώς μπορεί η μία χώρα να διδαχθεί από την άλλη. Το συμπέρασμα που εγώ έβγαλα προσωπικά από τις χθεσινές κουβέντα όλη την ημέρα είναι το ότι δεν πρέπει να φοβόμαστε την τεχνητή νοημοσύνη, γιατί εκεί επικεντρώθηκε και εκεί είναι και το βασικό θέμα του τέταρτου Φόρουμ Καινοτομίας, το οποίο κάνει το Εμπορικό και Βιομηχανικό Επιμελητήριο για τέταρτη φορά. Πάρα πολύ ένας επιτυχημένος θεσμός, όπως είπαμε και χθες, που είναι κάτι το οποίο δεν πρέπει να λείπει, κυρίως τα τελευταία χρόνια από τον φθινόπωρο, Σεπτέμβριο, Οκτώβριο και Νοεμβρίου φέτος. Το συμπέρασμα λοιπόν είναι το ότι δεν πρέπει να φοβόμαστε την τεχνητή νοημοσύνη, αλλά θα πρέπει να προετοιμαζόμαστε και να μαθαίνουμε. Νομίζω ότι σήμερα θα εμβαθύνουμε στα θέματα τα οποία είχαμε χθες, με ένα πάρα πολύ μεγάλο πρόγραμμα, το οποίο πραγματικά εμένα προσωπικά που το έχω έτσι επεξεργαστεί και το έχω δει και κυρίως μετά την εμπειρία που πήρα χθες, νομίζω ότι θα μας λύσει και πολλές από τις απορίες που είχαμε χθες. So, I have the honor to welcome for the opening speech, Mr. Georg Olowson, από την Λουκέρνη, σωστά?
Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Καλημέρα σας, κυρίες και κύριοι. Ευχαριστώ, κύριε Αναστασοπούλου. Thank you very much, everybody.
You are a governance leader at IIBM, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, isn't it?
Yes.
And your subject will be what's next in IE, open, trusted, and sovereign. And the language will be in English. So welcome you, Mr. Olowson. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Καλημέρα σας, κυρίες και κύριοι. Thank you again also for the invitation of the board from the Chamber of Commerce and also personally from Mr. Alkiviadis Thomas for the invitation. I was born in Germany as half Greek and half German, and specifically during the years of the financial crisis, it was not easy growing up in such a position. And something which I always was interested in is how technology will change our future. And this is why I took the decision to join IBM, one of the largest and oldest startups of the world, being here over 100 years. And it gave me the opportunity to work over 6 years now on the topic of AI, how we can ensure that we can bring it to the enterprise, and showing you today what is next in AI and what also my personal beliefs are, what will be important for the years 2025 and beyond. In the beginning, we will look at the impact of generative AI, where we see that this is a major impact, right? So analysts are talking about $3 to $4 trillion of GDP growth of the global economy. Just for comparison, this is the GDP of Germany, roughly speaking, right? So this is not little. We are talking about productivity gains per knowledge worker of up to 70%. And this is absolutely needed because we are living in times of a demographic crisis. We can oftentimes not find enough workers who are skilled enough. And so we have to start automating to keep our security systems working in our economies. We currently see that almost all of the large and medium-sized enterprises are starting to experiment with AI. If not, your company has not implemented that, your employees are definitely using it. But we currently see only 5 to 20% of companies really bringing that into production. And it's really about 2025 and beyond to make sure that the investments which we have in proof of concepts, in experimental projects, are actually going into production, that we are supporting our employees, that we are getting quicker, less manual processes, and that we ensure that we as humans can really focus on meaningful outcomes. In general, one of the major blockers which we currently see for enterprise adoption is the area of trust, right? Can we ensure that quality is in the system? Can we ensure that the system does not have any negative bias? And can we ensure that also with the upcoming or now active regulation in the European Union, for example, with the EU AI Act, can we be compliant? And there are some points we are going to talk about today. So, from my perspective, the first point is on openness. We need open data, open weights, and open license. What do I mean by that? You have to be careful when you select your AI because you have to actually know what data is used for the training and also what is the data collected when you use this AI. This is specifically important when you currently do not have your own AI systems in place for your employees. They will use private AI systems, which all of us have used. But it's important to choose also the right tooling there, because it might be the case that the AI model is using your personal or your company data to be trained on. And this is something we cannot tolerate in the enterprise. And we also need to know not just if our data is collected, but also what data went into the training of the model itself, right? We have the large tech companies and also smaller ones who are building these models. And there are very different approaches to that. There are some models who are very close. We don't know what's inside of there. And then we, for example, at IBM, we think that it needs to be transparent, it needs to be open, and we also need to care about the copyrighted data sets. And you see very large lawsuits with other players in the market around that topic. The second topic of openness is open weights. This basically means that the AI is not a black box in the case that you just ask it a question, get something back, but you can actually have open weight models or open source models, specifically, for example, on Hugging Face, which is sort of the marketplace for all AI models on the market, more or less, where we say you can download the model. It's an open model. It's also open source. We will come to that next. And you have to ensure that you can, download the models and also have your data scientists look inside of it, also to evaluate if it's a good model and also fits your use case as well for testing. The next topic is about licenses, right? Because there are very different licenses on the market. You have the very proprietary players where you have to pay for every word you let the AI generate. You have somewhat open licenses where you can use and download it for free, but it's not open source, and they still have restrictions how you can use it. And then you have players who are open sourcing models, and this is, for example, also our approach, where we basically license the AI models under Apache 2.0. So without paying IBM any penny, you can basically go on the website, download the model, get it on your own GPU and start having AI in your enterprise, right? You might need a couple of some skilled people who can bring this model to work, or you start working again with a playground in the cloud. But there are options in the market where you don't need to pay for the model itself. And it's important that enterprises specifically look at the licenses, because with licenses, there is liability, right? There are commercial terms which you have to care about. And open source is from my perspective, an important way forward, and the future is open. The second topic I would like to talk about is the area of trust. We started to talk about AI and trustworthiness already over 7 years ago, where we, built out our own AI ethics board, where we started to build out process around what are the AI projects we want to do and which are the ones which are not. So this is specifically important for the area of trusted use. You have to build also the right processes in your company, specifically when you want to start to scale use cases. Maybe you start now with 1 or 2 use cases, but in the future, each of your departments in the company will have 10, 20, 100 use cases. And so in the future, we'll probably have at least the equal size of AI use cases like employees. And then, so let's dive deeper into the use. The first question is your use case legally allowed? And the good thing is, with the EU AI Act, we now specifically know what is allowed, what is not allowed. And even if a use case is in high risk, let's say it's in the area of education or in law enforcement or in human resources, where in all of these fields, we are already using AI. We will need to use AI in the future even more, because otherwise our courts are too slow, our education is not personalized, or we can just not have enough HR people to look at the bunch of applications we get. So it's not the question of do we have to use AI? Can we use AI? But what do we have to do to be compliant? And so there are a specific set of rules which you have to comply on when you are in high risk. When you are in limited risks, this is mostly that you have to be transparent about that, hey, this is an AI-generated response, for example, let's say when you have a chatbot on your website, but then also the large bunch of use cases, you know, mostly has no really hard rules there. So you have to assess that also against the EU AI Act and also the specific regulations in the countries you're operating in. And then you also have to see beyond regulation, what are the things that are really aligned to your values and your ethics, right? Ethics, ethiki, it's something produced and brought forward from Greece. We should all be aware of what are our ethics, you know, what are our values, how do we evaluate that? And this is also why back in 2020, IBM said, hey, facial recognition, specifically when we use it in, let's say, a law enforcement environment, when we want to see if is there a specific person we are searching for in a large crowd, we have seen that these systems are just not operating well. And we have seen specifically in very large gatherings that they would basically arrest the wrong people because the AI was not really specific there. And so this is why we said this is a use case, even though it's very lucrative, it's not a positive use. This is not adhering to the ethical standard, even though it might be legally allowed, right? The next thing is around trusted process. And it's important to understand that specifically when you want to start scaling your AI, you need to have a process. For example, one part of the process might be to evaluate if you are compliant with the EU AI Act or in which risk category you are. Let's say we have now a client in banking and the HR department wants to build an AI bot so the employees can know what are the benefits of the company, right? Maybe it's cheaper credit cards, maybe it's free meals, maybe it's a nice car or a free vacation to Crete every 5 years, who knows? And so we need to make an assessment first. And this is what we talk about when we have the right processes. These processes need to be automated, right? And we need the right technology to support that. And in that case, here we have built out the process with a client, which clients can use to assess if the use case is compliant with the EU, which risk category of the EU AI Act is going to apply to the use case. Third thing here for trust, you need to be able to compare AI models. You should not just use the one you heard about in the internet. You need to actually see what is the right AI use case model for your use case. And by the way, what we've also seen, it's not always the largest or the most expensive use case model which is best for your application, but there are also very good specialized AI models which are also smaller and therefore much cheaper. So we are talking about savings of up to 90% when you are going rather for a smaller focused model for your use case. And then you have to actually analyze if the performance there is there. Last topic is sovereignty, and we are living in times of change and uncertainty, so we have to be sure that we are sovereign with the choices we make. The first is straightforward, and most of you are already doing that today, is ensuring that the cloud or the service which you are using is hosted in Greece, in Germany, or the European Union, at least, where we have a joint market. This is very important and will keep being important now, and also choosing the right providers who know about your regulation. Second thing is ensuring the flexibility, right? When you use an AI system or build out AI models, do you have the flexibility to start in the cloud and then maybe go to a local data center? Or can you then bring this to your own data center with your own graphical processor units, GPUs? Or are you basically locked in the cloud, right? And this will basically lock you in, have a vendor lock in, and then basically you have to do the whole work again when you want to change. And so you have to ensure that you have flexible deployment options. The last topic is around autonomy. And in the end, autonomy is about who has the red button. Can somebody else close your operation? Can somebody else push the red button? Or is the control even in another country? And this is why we see a trend for the next years also coming, in which we also see today, is that specifically banks, where they also have very sensitive data, are also public entities, governments, agencies, police, military. They are going for their own AI infrastructure. We've seen here large projects also in Germany with the states, with the federal agencies, where they basically get systems, get them plugged into their data centers. Within a couple of days, they can have their own AI running. And this is where I see full autonomy if needed for that specific case. With that, thank you so much for having me again. We are happy to connect and exchange. We need to use AI in the future, but we also need to ensure that we do it in the correct way. And I'm very glad that the Chamber of Commerce is supporting the businesses here to adopt AI. Thank you so much.
Και εμείς ευχαριστούμε κύριε Olowson. Νομίζω ήταν πάρα πολύ χρήσιμα εργαλεία αυτά που μας δώσατε για αυτούς που διστάζουν να χρησιμοποιήσουν την τεχνητή νοημοσύνη ή ακόμα και για τους προχωρημένους αν έχουν κάποιες απορίες πάνω σε αυτό. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ.